Okay, so let's talk about the systemic issue that exists within our community here in Sonoma County. I feel like on my end, I wouldn't necessarily say that I purposefully choose to disengage from other cultures in our society, but naturally, by the way that um, stores are designed and shops are located around the city, it creates a divide
Yeah.
between cultures and even social classes and races where the races don't engage as much as they could. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and it's a lot deeper too than just the way that stores are organized. It's the way that the system is intentionally set up to keep certain people in certain places. If you look at certain communities or certain parts of Sonoma County, you have predominantly certain races in certain areas. And I guess the way that resources are divided into certain communities, like we talked about, like, why are there so many liquor stores in this area of town?
Push play,
And then
baby.
we
Oh,
have
got it.
issues with substance abuse in certain areas of town, right? Why is it that why is it that all of the low income housing is in a certain neighborhood? Why is it only here? Why are these people segregated to this area of town? And you put all of their resources there because you want to keep them away from other neighborhoods who they might ruin their property value or certain things like that. I'm trying to figure out how to make make that into like
Well,
a
how
palatable
much do you think?
sentence.
Okay, so how much do you think that there is something to be said for people wanting to live in community with other people who are like
Absolutely,
them?
yeah.
And so then they will
Because
naturally.
it's safe. Because it's safe to be around people that look like you,
Right.
especially if you are a minority. You absolutely want to be around people who understand where you come from, understand your language, understand your struggles, have similar family structures to you, and it's safe to be around those people. But then the problem is when the system is designed to keep those people from integrating into the rest of society, whether it's getting jobs or, like we talked about, the markets. When we identify certain health problems in certain communities, like substance abuse, we like obesity, diabetes, things like that. But then we look in the community, and all they have in their community is fast food, and they don't have access to a Trader Joe's or to a Whole Foods or to an Oliver's where there's fresh produce and things like that. It just perpetuates these problems in these communities, and it prevents them from advancing or from um, making their children's lives better. It's proven that being um, economically challenged affects the growth of your child. It affects their brain development. It affects their physical development. And if they're not given the opportunity to give their children healthy food and access to health care or clean water or things like that, then they will forever stay in a disadvantaged position. And that is what systematic oppression and racism is that the system is designed to keep them in that place, and there aren't opportunities for them to get all the resources they needed to get better educations, um, things like that.
I think with that too, a lot of times resources might even be there, but they're so hard to obtain
Yeah.
or require so much paperwork and so much legwork, and you might not have the transportation, you might not have the technology, the computer, the printer, the fax machine, and all of the resources to even get the resources
Exactly.
that your family needs.
Yeah.
Um,
If you have a community of people that are struggling with the language, but then the applications to get assistance are not in their language, then how do they navigate that?
right.
They can't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. One, if they don't have a computer to email in or they don't know how to type, that's going to be a way bigger challenge for them to even. They might feel defeated before they've even begun to get the resources.
They're being set up to fail. And even if we look at things like distance learning now, and we talked about communities and children not having computers, but let's say they have computers but no internet,
Right.
or vice versa, or whatever it is, they're at a disadvantage that's not being addressed. So how do they stay on par with their schooling? How do they advance? It's not possible.
Well, now it's a requirement.
Yeah.
You are required, even in kindergarten, first, second grade, to have access to devices for your schooling now that distance learning is the way that we're going. And a lot of families don't have
How reasonable it is to ask someone who's struggling to make rent
Right.
or to struggling to feed their family to go out and buy a device that's a few $100s. It's not feasible.
Yeah. So maybe we can even link some organizations that help with that, where people can donate and or even volunteer or contribute to helping with that. So I think that would be important.